Blog Talk Radio.
Winston-Salem, it's Sunday Night Dead.
From Paranormal here in beautiful Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Beautiful, but way too cold for this time of year. I think we are have a chance of getting some snow tonight, which is just crazy for this area right now. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. Thank you so much for closing it out with us tonight. Really looking forward to tonight's show. We have author Constance Briggs on with us tonight. And thank you, everyone who attended our St. Patrick's Day party last week. We had a great time with that, although a word to everyone out there, if you ever have a party and invite leprechauns, if they come for the St. Patrick's Day party, they don't leave. Unfortunately, we got leprechauns still running around the place wreaking havoc. I guess they feel St. Patrick's Day lasts like a month. I'm not quite sure, but... Yeah, if I had a dime for every time I've had to hear that the last week. But anyway, bring on my co-host this evening from Colorado Shadow Investigations, Luana Kurz.
Hi, how's it going?
Going great. And from South Jersey Soul Searchers. I think I am finally over that mental block with their group's name, Mr. John Coghill.
Hello, hello.
How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm recovering from a serious chest, and I think it whooped me. I couldn't talk. I finally got my voice back.
You guys have had that leg thing going since the hurricane out there. I mean, I'm staying away from Jersey, man.
I'm battling that too myself, so I hear ya.
I have. I spent the evening last night at St. Albans. Had a awesome time. Brought some people that have not done this before. Actually, got my wife to go along with me the second time she's been out now doing this. But one of the things, I guess, all the dust in those places and probably a little dose of mold and things. I always have kind of call it the asylum cough the day after. So I am not sick at all, but I'm kind of raspy from just all the gunk there, but very, very interesting place. We had Don on a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, his mother was in the emergency room, so he could only stay on for a little while. But we're going to have him back on shortly, and hopefully I get to review some evidence and have some cool audio to play along with it. But anyone who gets a chance to check out that site, definitely go check out St. Albans in Radford, Virginia. It's one, along with a number of ones that I'm aware of right now that are kind of in danger. With some of these buildings, there's people that would like to do other things with them. So if there isn't enough interest in the locations, they get knocked down, and that's very sad. All right, well, without any further ado, I will bring on our guest tonight. Very much looking forward to this. She's the author of Encyclopedia of the Unseen Realm, Constance Briggs. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing awesome. I've really been looking forward to this show. It's just the whole area that you've been working in and with this book is just very interesting. And I think a lot of the listeners out there are going to have quite a bit of questions and things related to this. So very much looking forward to being able to speak with you tonight.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
First of all, I'd like to introduce you to our two co-hosts tonight, Luana and John.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you all?
Hello, how you doing tonight?
Good, thanks. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah,
I'm just going to add. I'm not sure if anyone has their volume still on in their computer or anything. Getting a little bit of feedback coming on. Constance, you also won't know this, but very early on when I did this show, I offended some orbs, and so we have orbs that wreak havoc on our show occasionally. So they've been behaving pretty well. We invited them to the St. Patrick's Day party last week, so we had some drunk orbs running around, and so I'm hoping I kind of appease them for the time being. But every once in a while, we've had weird voices come through on this. A couple weeks ago, it was very bizarre, and so you never know what you're going to get on Sunday Night Dead. But,
well, my computer's turned down, so is that okay? Do I need to turn it off?
No, you should be fine. You should be fine as long as the volume's down. It's just every once in a while you get it. I don't know if anyone else out there is hearing that. If anyone in the chat room, if you're hearing any kind of like echo or something, just let me know. I guess also I should send out a chat because we've had this happen once before. Make sure everyone in the chat room is hearing me right now. But why don't we just kind of get us started off here? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in this field and writing this book.
Well, I'm a researcher, metaphysical, spiritual, paranormal. Now I've added paranormal to my title recently. Metaphysical, spiritual, paranormal author, and researcher. And I think, to be frank, I think I was always involved in the field, even, as a very young person. I just didn't have an understanding of what was happening around me. I've always been able to pick up energies, and when I was a teenager, I was saying, oh, I'm a little psychic, ha ha ha. I knew the phone was going to ring before it did. I knew who was at the door. I saw something last night. So it was always with me, but I didn't have the words to define it. I didn't have the knowledge. But as I became older, some very significant things happened in my life that sort of set me on this path of research to find out what in the world, is going on. Boy, where to begin? I first saw a vision when I was in my teens, and at that time, I've studied angels for years and years, and at that time I knew nothing about angels, and I knew nothing about the afterlife so much, so I didn't know who or what this was. But I was laying in bed, and I was ill, and there was it looked like a swirling cloud of smoke that appeared in front of me. And once this swirling cloud sort of opened and dissipated, there was a figure of a man standing there. And this man, and I remember his face to this day, was very sorrowful looking and compassionate, and he was holding out his arm towards me and beckoning me to come, it looked like. And I just I didn't do anything. I didn't move towards him. I was pretty shocked, and I just I didn't know what to think. So anyway, eventually, I guess since I didn't move towards him, he sort of faded out in front of me. But I didn't know anything about guides or angels, and so I spent years wondering who and what that was. But just continued on with that memory. So that sort of opened up my idea that I could have visions and I could see, people that were beyond. I didn't feel like this was someone who had crossed over from Earth. I felt like it was an unearthly being, but I didn't know who or what it was. So that was the beginning. And so I started to study religion, trying to find answers, like we all do, trying to figure out why we're here. And it sort of led me on this path to study angels, and that was, a big one for me. And during this period, my parents and my parents' home, they started having some weird activities there. And for years, I think I was unaware of it until I sort of started having issues myself with an unseen person or entity. To this day, I'm not sure who or what it was, but as it went on for like 10 years, this activity, and I moved. Once I went to school, I got my own place, I felt that same energy follow me. And I've heard other stories like this where, people have moved from one place to another and an energy had followed them. And so in my apartment, I started having some weird experiences with objects moving. I was living alone, and so I couldn't share it with anybody, and it was very frightening. I could feel someone lie down on my bed, sit on my bed, someone touch me. It was quite frightening. So I learned to work with angels, and I learned to call their names. And once I started that activity, it was very interesting. That stopped. The negative energy left, and I've had no more problems all these years. And that went on for a long time until I started calling on angels. And that taught me that, yes, there is a negative energy out there that does follow us and can harass us for whatever reason. And there are also positive energies that we really can tap into, beings of light, angels, guides that can help us. So after that experience, I actually started collecting information, and it actually ended up in my book, The Encyclopedia of Angels, what I learned. I've had other experiences, Matthew. I don't know what you want to focus on, but I've had out-of-body experiences, And I've also had my father, who crossed over to the other side, come back, and that's a great story. You know, he was trying to connect with me, and I wasn't getting it at first until, you know, he was like messing with my computer when I was trying to write what I call my God book. He would, I know now with him, I would like be writing and it would shut down, or, you know, I would turn it back on and then it would like freeze, the screen would freeze, and I would hit the reset and nothing would happen. Weird things were happening with that. And then finally, one day I live in California, and there was an energy crisis, and I had gone downstairs. The house was dark because we were saving energy, and I had turned on the light in my living room. My lamp was plugged in behind my couch. The only people in the house at the time was myself and my toddler son. And we turned on that light, went to the family room and sat down, and the light went off. And I got a chill. I remember getting a chill down my back, and I went and looked, you know, to see what had happened to the light because it was weird. And the cord to the outlet had been pulled. The lamp cord was pulled out of the outlet, and I knew immediately it was my dad. And so from that time on, you know, I talked to him, and the lights would turn on and off. The television would do weird things. The stereo would turn on. Finally, his, I call it his M.O., was to change my digital clock. You know, I would say, Dad, I haven't heard from you lately, and he'd change my clock time. Yeah. And my husband would get really frustrated and say, well, you know, it's really hard to change it back. Can you ask him to change it back? You know, and then when my sister a few years back was crossing over, that same digital clock, which was located, it was the time on the VCR, and I used it for you know, just to glance at all the time, and so when she was crossing over, the time set to 3 hours her time. She was in North Carolina, and so. Okay. Yeah, and then as she was passing, the numbers were turning and turning and turning. And then when she finally died, if you will, for a better word, when she did, the numbers went back to California time. So after I had that experience with my dad, I mean, my husband and son saw a light on the ceiling, a large light one night, and we really think we were seeing his spirit, or they were seeing his spirit, and he appeared in dreams. He appeared in visions that he would give. Like, I was in a mall one day and I could see my dad waving. No matter where I turned, I could see him in my mind's eye waving. And so once that happened, and I knew he was okay on the other side, I decided at that time to write a book. And it turned out to be the Encyclopedia of the Unseen World. I wanted to write a book for people who had the same kind of experiences and who had questions about this topic, where they could go and they could look up information, you know, what is an after-death communication, what is a near-death experience, you know, what are beings of light. People, you know, have questions, and I just thought it would be a good resource for them to sort of, you know, jump into and you know, learn a little, and then take it as a step further and go out on their own and use it as a reference and a guide to find other information for themselves.
Awesome. I have mentioned this before on the show, and you know, an experience that has always stuck with me. It what you were saying just kind of reminded me of this again. When I was in college, or just out of college, one of my uncles that I was pretty close to passed away, and shortly after, it was like within the week, I had this dream, and we're all in my parents' family room, and he comes walking in the back door, and everyone's like all happy and, you know, giving him hugs and stuff. And I'm sitting in the corner, and I'm like, something's wrong with this. Something's wrong with this. Something's wrong with this. Something's wrong with this. They're all sitting down talking, and I just like say it out loud as I'm thinking about this. You know, it's one of those deals where you're dreaming, but you're not sure you're dreaming. You're trying to figure out what's not adding up. And I'm like, you're dead. You're not supposed to be here. He looked right at me, gave me a big smile, big nod, went out the back door, and I never had a dream about him since. Just very, very strange.
Wow. Well,
I do know. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say it's very common for our loved ones on the other side to come to us in dreams. Actually, that night that my dad pull that cord out of the wall. And I had never experienced that kind of thing before. I did not realize at that time that they could move physical things like that, just, snatch it out. But I told him, I said, okay, Dad, don't pop in on me. I'm really skittish. I understand that it's easy to come through in a dream. And so, sure enough, a couple of nights later, as I was sleeping, I did hear him call me outside of my dream. I heard his voice, and then within my dream, my dad sort of, and I say this because I don't know how else to say it. It looked like he beamed in to my dream. I have very active dreams. I really like movies, but he kind of came in and didn't sit there, and he had a big smile on his face, like see. And, I started crying, and I woke up. So if he wanted to say anything, he was, I didn't hear it, the message. But, yeah, he did. He came in a dream instead of popping in on me.
Well, I see we got some questions lining up here, but I want to ask you a quick one here. Just you were saying earlier about kind of the negative things can harass you as well. I'm curious because of another story that people that have listened to this before know my dream story with this as well. I'm just curious, can negative things harass you or do anything kind of dream-wise as well?
In dream-wise?
Yes.
Dream-wise, I believe that they can come in through dreams. Of course, we don't know how they do it, but I do think that that other side has access to that sort of psychic state that we're in when we go to sleep. And if you do have some energies around you that are not favorable, I think they can come in and cause some disturbances, yeah. I mean, I hate to say it. For so long, I never wanted to look at the dark side of this whole thing. I only wanted to work in the light. But you know what? I've recently come across so many accounts, and you just can't deny it. But I can say that I feel like if people surround themselves with positive things and energy and thoughts, that is a way to kind of disrupt that attempt to get to you. They're very interested in reaching people that are susceptible to it, and it's also very easy for people who have addictions and things. It's so easy for the negative energies to come in and cause problems, I think.
Oh, we've talked about that many times here, and I think a lot of the people in the chat or the people listening later that are in teams can attest to this as well, that there seems to be this correlation between activity and, addiction behavior or some type of psychological or emotional trauma, and that I've always kind of wondered, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Does that energy, my personal opinion is the energy attracts those things because, again, they see an opening or a weakness. But who knows? It's interesting. I will also say that a lot of the people that I meet in here, it's funny. I think some people that don't really understand the field misinterpret that a lot of people are involved in this because they like big spooky stuff. But most of the people I talk to, or a vast majority of the people that I talk to, are really involved to help people. So the more you understand. I mean, I hate the idea that somebody's isolated somewhere suffering with, strange activities, strange things going on because they're just told they're nuts and it's all in their head. When, a number of us out here have experienced enough strange things firsthand to know that there's more out there than is just in our regular experience. I'll tell this story really fast just because this is another one that has really stuck with me, and that's why I asked about the dream thing. I have an older daughter, and then we have quadruplets, and they're 12 now. Okay. But and I almost would have given my mother-in-law a heart attack if this had followed through. My wife was in the hospital. She was in the hospital for like 2 or 3 weeks before they were born, and obviously high stress. So I think this probably had something to do with it. But I'm sleeping up in my room, and what wakes me up, I'm not having a bad dream, nothing's going on. What wakes me up is I heard a voice say, "Wake up, they're coming for you." And so I wake up, and I'm facing out the window, so I'm not seeing anything there, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of odd. again, not stressed, not scared or anything. I flip around, and in the doorway of my bedroom is this guy in a uniform with a whole bunch of people behind them that all I can say is they were almost like this taupe or like, amber color. They had like no color to them. It's hard to kind of see, but they're all like behind him, and they were all filing into the room. And my lungs filled up with air. I was about ready to start screaming my head off louder than I've ever screamed my head off before. And my mother-in-law was staying with us to help, and she was downstairs, and I'm sure I would have given her a heart attack because I have no idea what that would have sounded like because I had never had to yell like that. And then it all dissipated. And so, again, no idea, but what strikes me as odd, I mean, I know you can, dream and sometimes wake up and still see those things. I wasn't having a nightmare. Mm-hmm. I didn't wake up scared. It wasn't like anything. I just woke up and like you would normally wake up, and when I flipped over in the bed, that's when I saw the stuff coming into the room. And so just very, 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 very weird experience.
Well, what kind of energy did you pick up from it? Was it negative? Was it evil? Was it what do you think it was? I mean, do you think it was a premonition or?
No, it was not nice. I don't know if anyone, and again, I know some people say that this is just where I got it all from originally. It was a dumb movie, but I used to watch. Actually, before I started doing this stuff, going out into buildings and helping people and stuff, I used to watch lots of horror movies. I don't anymore because I have a pretty good imagination. I don't need any extra ammunition, for to be thinking of things when I'm in a dark hallway. But there was this cheesy movie in the 70s. It was called like The Sentinel, and this guy was like guarding the like gate to hell or something. And when that gate was getting broken, it was like a similar thing of these. They were kind of like deformed, but all these things were coming out that were kind of like that tan color. The person in the lead in the uniform had a very weird look in his face, not good. And then all the things behind him, even though they didn't really have any color to them and stuff, it wasn't nice. I don't want to say, I can't really even describe what they looked like. It was kind of nondescript, just kind of like images there. But no, I would say it was definitely not positive. And the other odd part about it is what woke me up was hearing that voice. Basically, wake up, they're coming. And then I saw, it's very bizarre, one of the weirdest, not one of the weirdest dream experience I've ever had. And it's always just something that, and the more I've gotten involved in this, it's something that's just kind of stuck with me as, I wonder what that was, and I'm glad they didn't get to me, but I just wonder what that was all about.
Yeah, I tell my kids to keep their vibration high, meaning, and I tell them not to fill up their lives with, those kind of things with horror movies, and there's things they can't watch, and there's things they can't listen to, because it really can break down your energy. And I feel like let other things in, negative things in. It's just focus on the light. Is what I tell them. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know I've kind of talked a lot here, so I'm gonna flip over to Luana here, who I believe had a question.
Yeah, Constance, it's nice to talk to you. I definitely resonate with a lot of what you're explaining and talking about. I recently also have started my metaphysical journey, and so really my questions, I have a couple of them. You mentioned that sensation like somebody sits down on the bed, and this for me started about a year ago, and I was actually just ironically this weekend in a forum where people were asking if anybody else has experienced that, because it's something that other people have experienced. For me personally, I feel like whatever is sitting on the bed is good energy. It's nothing that has scared me. I just wanted to get your take on that as well, from your experience.
Yeah, there's a fine line between our world and other dimensions, I feel like. And the thing is, they are around us. And we can't see them. They can see us, hear us, mess with us if they want, touch us if it's a loved one, but we can't see them or feel them or any of those things. And I do think that sometimes our friends and our loved ones that have crossed over really are, checking in on us. It doesn't have to be because, it's scary to people because they don't know what it is. We're not educated, in this stuff as a people. We don't really know. That's why so many of us are out here trying to learn it. But we actually, I lost my thought. We actually have our loved ones coming and going and checking on us. It doesn't have to be anything negative because you feel a presence. Maybe your dad who crossed over, or my dad who crossed over, may come and sit down next to us, or just looking on us as we're sleeping. The energy that I felt, I didn't think it was a positive one. It had followed me from, the old home to the new one, and I could feel that it was not. But when my dad was coming through, turning on the lights to let us know he was around and doing things like this for a while, there was no fear. There was no fear. We were only happy. So don't assume that just because there's something or, you feel something that you can't see, that it's there to get you. It's not.
Exactly. And, it's funny because, I started, I've been really wanting to get into Reiki, and I started a Reiki class last weekend, and it was almost like, because I feel like my guides, I've seen some of my guides have pushed me in that direction, that they're guiding me to do that, and it was really funny. I was like laying in bed last Sunday before the class started, and it's almost as if they were kind of waking me up, like they knew it was important to me, and so they were there. So I definitely think, I definitely resonate with that experience. I guess the other question I had when I heard you talk about angels, and maybe for some of our listeners tonight, I think most commonly we hear about guardian angels. Can you explain maybe some of the other angels that we're surrounded by?
We have, okay. First of all, the term angel is a term I believe that originated with Christianity, and I use that word for lack of a better word. But there are many terms for these beings that have been around for as long as humankind has on this earth, that have been here to that helped us and guide us. So from what I can see, from what I understand, that we do have the guardians. And they do come in and try to offer protection, and sometimes we miss what they're saying. And people will say, oh, well, this happened to that person. Where was the guardian angel? Well, first of all, if you don't know anything about these higher beings, they do try to come in and reach you. They do try to tell you, through telepathy, or maybe even talk through someone, to be careful, or give you a vision, and people just ignore them, and sometimes things happen to them. Now, the other angels that I believe are angels that not our guides necessarily, but angels that are around us to help humanity raise their vibration and are here to help shed light. So they are encouraging people to go in and they're helping with the healing activity, and they're helping with the animals in the world and trying to protect them. A lot of the times when we think we have an idea in art and music, those it may have come from what I call a creating angel that kind of planted that idea and are trying to help the earth by having someone create that beautiful piece of music or that beautiful art, or have the idea for preserving this endangered species. We have angels around that are trying their best to help us to help ourselves and the planet.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
John, I believe you had some questions as well?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I was just curious. I've been checking out Constance's website, the Starseed Mission, and I don't know if it's very interesting. And my question is real simple: what is your take on angels? Do you believe that there are ghosts, or do you believe that there's angels? Just kind of clarification.
Both.
The both.
I'm not sure of the question. Are you asking me, do I believe in that there are angels that exist and ghosts that exist?
Yes. I guess that would be like, what's the difference in your interpretation of it, or is there a difference?
Okay. Yes, there is a difference. First of all, angels and I just wanted to elaborate on that other question just a little bit. Angels are beings of light that have come in here to help. They come in from the source, and they are given to us. And I believe other planets and other worlds also have these beings that come in to help the planet to grow and, like I said, and to protect and offer assistance. Most people know that about angels. But what are they? They came from source. They were never a human. They have not incarnated into the physical in any way, whereas and they're powerful, and they are. If you cross over and you see one of these beings, they have been said to, shine so brightly for people who have had near-death experiences, crossed over and saw beings of light. The more spiritual you are, that you have a light that radiates over there. These beings are, you can't even, they've got a light around them. You can't define anything because they're so powerful and they're so spiritual that we can't, even when we cross over, discern an outline for them. They're superhuman. They can, so are we when we cross over. That's a whole other subject, and I'll be happy to talk about that because that's a fun one. But they are powerful. They operate by telepathy, and they're different. Now, the ghost. And this is, really amazing for me. Now, ghosts can be, and I don't like the term ghost because of, Hollywood's version of a ghost is this shadowy, woozy, often mischievous, person that has died. I don't like that definition, but that's what we've come to know them as. Actually, a ghost can be different levels. When someone crosses over, if they stay instead of going into the light or going into, sometimes you have a tunnel that opens up. Some people have had a meadow that opens up. Instead of going and crossing over into the other side via that portal that opens and they decide to stay, they become sort of what we call, a ghost. And those people are the ones that we often see when you hear people say, oh, I saw this person, they were in my house, they were a ghost. Those are often the beings that are the people who have stayed behind and not crossed over. Now, the people who are coming and going, like my dad, for example, I believe that he crossed over, checked in, and then came back and visited. But I don't see his form. And the longer that he's over there, or that we're over on the other side, I understand the more difficult it is to actually materialize. It's almost as if the people who have stayed around haven't crossed completely over in some kind of, I don't know. It's like part of them have one foot in our dimension and one foot in the other, when you can still see them like that. I've been studying some cases of ghosts in the White House, and it's been very, very interesting for me because there's one woman that has been seen, and it was the first lady, the first first lady, I guess Abigail Adams, and she, she's been spotted throughout the centuries on and off. And for whatever reason, I really believe that she didn't cross all the way over. You can still see her sometimes. I think she is a ghost. Whereas, like I said, if someone else crosses over and comes back, and I could feel my dad, but I didn't see him. So I think that's the difference.
Okay, that's yes.
I guess kind of a...
Was that too convoluted?
No, not at all. It's very interesting, actually.
I have a follow-up on this, but first of all, I think the chat's doing weird things, so this is going to sound really dumb, but some of you already know about this. I don't know why this works, but this, more often than not, if I give one of the orbs their time on here, our tech issues start diminishing. So I have no idea why, but let's give an orb her 10 seconds.
I'm in the orb, and you're listening to that really mean guy, Matt. On
right, so appreciate any feedback from the chat room if it starts working better for you. I know some people are having some trouble either being able to log in or and I know I've actually been booted out of chat during the show already. So again, not knowing what's going on, they get a little fickle. Sometimes they get upset with me. But question on related to this activity, how would you describe then? A lot of us have experienced or have been in locations where there is what we would call residual, basically just like a tape playing over. So nothing, no particular intelligence there. Let's just say that the room that I do the show in, I kind of pace around while I'm doing the show. So 50 years from now, somebody keeps hearing footsteps in this room going on a certain pattern. It's things like that. Or in some of the hospitals we've been in, it's not. Doesn't appear to have intelligence, doesn't appear to be any interaction, but they'll see, maybe a nurse moving from one area to another or hear noises. I've heard Trans-Allegheny. I wish I could have been there to hear this one. One of the guys was telling me once that around 5:36 in the morning, it all of a sudden sounded in the one ward like all of a sudden everybody was waking up. It was just basically sounds of basically an active place getting up, getting ready, but it's an empty. It's an empty hallway. What are your thoughts on those types of, again, not intelligence, but just kind of this like feedback loop or tape playing back in certain areas?
Well, I would have used the word residual as well. I mean, that's my understanding of it, that there was something that was so powerful that happened in one place that it's left an imprint of some sort. And yeah, it's like a loop that keeps playing over and over. Like if you've ever watched a movie, you just keep running it through your mind. That's what happens. But so I honestly don't know a lot about that. But I do want to say that that's all I know is that it's like an energy from a tragic event that keeps going. I don't think they're ghosts or apparitions that are continuing to move around in a circle either. I don't think that we can explain it or have enough information to understand that sort of loop that you're talking about. Whereas for some places that have, a ghost that is walking around constantly, I think that they are actually there and they don't want to leave. But then I have another theory, I guess you would call it, where I think sometimes our dimensions are crossing over. I think, for example, there was one story that I heard where some investigators had gone to look at this, what was called a haunted area, and it was an area of a forest, and I can't remember the state now, that people had reported hearing sounds from, and they went and they sat there and they listened, and sure enough, they could hear horses' hooves, in a carriage going by, and they could hear the clanging of pots and pans, and they felt like, they could hear, kind of people moving about. Was that an imprint or a residual, or was that something else? Because they could sit there and hear all of these things. I really think sometimes that we are witnessing or experiencing dimensions crossing over. I think they were actually hearing some actual town that was busy, but they couldn't see it. I don't think it was ghost-related or even a loop-related, and that there is some investigations going on with that, I know.
I agree. It's something along those lines as well. I have, and I've talked about this before as well, one of the more interesting pieces of audio I got was at a private residence where I got a little girl basically asking me if I was a ghost. So, it's, again, same kind of, it reminds me of that movie, The Others, but also what you're saying, that maybe there was some kind of overlap and, there could have been a girl or somebody sitting in a living room hearing some voice that didn't make sense. That was actually coming from us in the room trying to figure out what was going on in the living room. So very, very interesting. Real quick, area code 646-929-2384, if anyone would like to call in with any questions tonight. Was curious, just biggest surprise in doing your research. what's the most surprising thing you learned as you started kind of digging into this and putting the book together?
Yeah, I've had a number of surprises. First of all, as far as people crossing over, that one of the biggest is that they can materialize objects. And you'll probably think, well, that's not a surprise. You've probably been dealing with stories of apports for forever, right? People who find pennies, maybe that, their dad used to give them pennies all the time, and they find pennies, in the street, or, maybe their boyfriend or husband crossed over and he left a rose for them. Yeah, those are all well and fine and amazing. But however they do it, they can materialize really large objects. I recently came across a very interesting story by Telly Savalas, the actor, and he was not a man who, and he said himself, he was not someone who believed in, in the paranormal until he had an experience where he was stranded one night, and his car ran out of gas, and so he walked to this tavern, and the guy gave him directions to the closest gas station, and he thanked him and started walking, and he had to go on the road, and it was dark, and a car pulled up beside him, and the guy said, I'll give you a ride, and Telly, Savalas was really grateful, and he got in the car, and the man he said he had a really strange voice, really high-pitched voice, but he took him to the gas station. He got it filled up. I think he needed an extra $1. He gave Telly the dollar. He took Telly back to the car. He told him that he knew this famous ball player or something, and he gave Telly his phone number, and he left. Perfectly nice person. Well, the next morning, Mr. Savalas said he was watching the news, and this ball star he learned had died, and so he decided to call the guy that had picked him up the night before. So he called a number, and a woman answered, and she was quite upset with him calling and hung up the phone. He called back and said, he's trying to reach this man. He had given him the number, and she said, that was my husband, and he died 2 years ago. And so, obviously Telly Savalas was really freaked out. Well, where am I going with this story? I was amazed that this turned out to be a ghost story. The guy Telly got together with this woman, and she said he was buried in a white suit. The man was wearing a white suit. He had committed suicide, shot himself in the throat. That's probably why he had a high-pitched voice. But how in the world did he materialize a car?
And one that worked to transport. Yeah.
True
wow.
story. He wasn't known to be a liar, Telly Savalas, and I saw this on a show that was called The Extraordinary. And out of the whole story, because I've heard of ghost stories and people coming to help from beyond the grave, but a car.
Yeah, that would be very, very, very freaky. Very, 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 very interesting. What are some other ones that surprised you?
Yeah, when I was Dad would go out all dads go out and work and come back, and you could hear the car pull up, on the gravel carport that we had. And I looked up, and I saw my dad, and he was standing in the door, years and years before he died. And I said hi to him, and he smiled and turned and walked away. And my mother said, what is wrong with you? Your dad's not here. And I know that I saw him. I was freaked out. Well, years and years later, I learned that we can bilocate. We can be in the spirit in two places at once. We can be asleep, and we can appear in our auntie's house 2 states away. That has been known to happen where someone, talked to somebody who had sworn they had a conversation, and the person said they were never there. Location. And it also can happen after death, where people have had said they, Uncle, Ted came, and he said, goodbye to me, and he was in North Carolina, and then the other guy in Boston said Uncle Ted came and said goodbye to him. You can also bilocate when you're when you're in the spirit. So I thought that was pretty amazing, and it answered my question as to what I was seeing when I was young with my dad.
Now, does that, your opinion, does that work kind of unconsciously? So was he possibly at work wondering, I wonder what Constance is doing, or just, thinking about you, and you were able to actually somehow see that as well?
I think that my dad, is one of those people who took naps at work. During times, honestly, to be honest,
Okay.
And I think he came home. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
One other thing that I learned recently, and I'm still, scratching my head over this one. I mean, we all know, we've all heard of haunted houses and that the spirits linger. But the fact that I wonder sometimes if they're literally trapped there. There is a story out there about John Belushi. And this is what made me start thinking, because he died in a hotel room in a very famous hotel there in Hollywood. And in that room, there have been paranormal activity, and people always, have associated it with John Belushi. And, I was thinking before I read this, why in the heck would John Belushi be hanging around the hotel room? But he died, and I know people cross over. They go into the light. They go through tunnels. But after some investigation, especially for this one little boy who was there for a while as his home was being built, he was there with his parents, and he would say there was this funny man that would come and visit him every night. And the boy was shown a picture of John Belushi, and he identified him. He said before they told him, they just, they just showed him random pictures. He said, "Oh, that's the funny man that comes to visit me." And I just thought, sometimes people stay, or part of them stay, for whatever reason, in the place that they pass. It really is true, but I don't understand the reason behind it. So that's been surprising, and I would like to do some more research on that one. That was new for me.
Interesting. Luana or John, any questions or about any of the things we've talked about so far?
I'm just taking it all in. I'm really fascinated with the subject matter. I'm really curious about the out-of-body experiences and, near-death experience, and just hearing about some of that. So, whenever.
Okay, sure. Out-of-body experiences are when the soul or the spirit or the astral body, whatever your word is for that part of us that is connected to the physical, comes out. Some people can do it consciously. Some people do it unconsciously, like me. I sort of just slip out without trying during sleep. And I'm not one of those people that I've heard can meet in groups and travel together. I'm not, that good at it. But I've had a number of them, and I can tell you what my very first one was. I was living in Virginia, in Alexandria, Virginia, and for any listeners who know the area, there is a very famous bridge called the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and I lived right next to it in a high-rise building. And I went to sleep one night, and I literally woke up, but I was not in the bed. I was in the sky, and I was up over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, as crazy as that may sound. I could look down, and I could see the cars going back and forth. And I felt like I had been drugged, which I hadn't, but it felt like I was coming out of this, deep, woozy state, and I kind of moved forward, and I caught myself because I was floating forward, and I caught myself, and when I caught myself, I sort of was bobbing up and down. I was floating, literally, and I knew what it was. I knew it was an out-of-body experience. I had, at this point in my life, been studying spirituality, and I was well aware of Robert Monroe, who is the author of Journeys Out of the Body. And if I had not known that, I probably would have freaked out. There actually have been some cases where people, who were out of the body, and they thought they were dead. So, I mean, what do? I woke up the next morning. I knew what had happened. It was quite shocking, and I just, I went to work and lived with it. And since that time, I've had them, periodically. One thing that I can tell you about them is that we travel very fast. A lot of times when people are asleep, they are out of the body. We are tied to the body to a point, but we can leave the body and travel. We can. My son, for example, before he knew any of this, when he was just 4, he was saying, Mom, I left the house and traveled around the neighborhood, and did you see me, Mom? I was on the ceiling. I was trying to get back into my body, and you were calling me. Did you see me, Mom? And so, everyone can do it. Everyone can leave. But I was going to say that when you're out of the body, you can travel through tunnels. I guess tunnels or portals. I've been through very fast going through a tunnel. Sometimes when people are sleeping and they have the flying dreams, they're actually out of their bodies traveling because we move quickly. You can end up in different dimensions. You can see things that you couldn't believe is out there, but you can only see it from the spiritual body. So, yeah, it can happen. It does happen to many people, but what people often think they're dreams unless you wake up with what's called a conscious out-of-body experience. I mean, I have waken up with a conscious experience and been on the ceilings of buildings. I remember waking up on the ceiling of a mall. I remember traveling with what I believe to be a guide in a couple of them, and just waking up. I woke up in someone's house, and I was trying to see if the lady could see me, and so those things are real. The near-death experience is when someone is dead or clinically dead, and they cross over, and of course, with our modern age, people can be resuscitated and rescued from death, and they come back unless the body is so broken up that they can't come back. And the reason that they would come back, of course, is because they're sent back or because it wasn't their time to come back, to cross over. But so that's the near-death experience, and the only difference is that one you're clinically dead and one you're not.
Right. Right. Can I ask you, with the out-of-body experiences, from other people that I've talked to that have had these experiences, some people have mentioned that they have a cord or a tether. Is that anything that you've experienced or not so much? Like they're actually corded?
Yeah, I've heard of the cord, and I've written about the cord, but I actually have not seen it. I actually am not one of those people that have looked back and seen my body. Lying on the bed. I'm gone. I'm out, and I don't look back. I don't recall ever seeing that cord, although I believe that it exists. Yeah.
Okay.
It's called the silver cord.
Yeah, the silver cord. Yeah, I've heard about that, so I was curious about that. And then also, when you take a look at these out-of-body experiences, what do you think the intent is? Like, is it for your guides or for you to see something in a different perspective, to learn something? What do you think?
Well, I just think that we are allowed to come out, in kind of like taking off a heavy coat for air. I don't know. And also I think that we may have some kind of mission that we need to take care of, when we leave the body. I don't think that we remember all of the out-of-body experiences. There's this one lady, everybody knows her. Her name is Sylvia Brown, and she said something very interesting that stuck with me once. She said that she would leave, and she would go home to the other side, and she would go into these buildings that she knew when she existed on the other side, and she would look up information, and she would come back. And then there was also, if you know who Edgar Casey is, he also talked about the Akashic records, and he would glean get information, and he even ran into what he said was an angel of death once, and he came back. So I do think that sometimes we have a mission and a purpose for leaving the body and going and retrieving some information, or even meeting a loved one on the astral plane. I believe that maybe I dreamed about my sister after she crossed over, but I believe I was there. I don't believe it really was a dream. And I was out of the body, but it wasn't a conscious one like my other ones. It felt more like a dream state, but I felt like I was there. But besides that, I think that sometimes we just leave for the relief of getting out of this heavy physical body that we're in. It's not our true existence.
Right.
We've lowered ourselves to come in here, and it's like I said, it's like wearing a heavy coat. And I do think we can come out for air from time to time from that.
Interesting. Very neat.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I always do a quick break here, let people get a refill on their drink, or anyone has to do a bio break. So going to do 2 songs here because they're short, and then we will be back in about 5 minutes with Constance Briggs. Again, a very, very interesting conversation this evening. If anyone wants to call in, 646-929-2384. We'll be back in a little bit. You're listening to Sunday Night Dead.
Together while our eyes were young. Greetings, Earthlings. This is Captain Zorlog of the Carnathian Empire, and you're listening to Sunday Night Dead, a show we consider marginally adequate, and Matthew Slozer, a host we do not, but at least he's better than Vincent.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to bring on Luana, John, and Constance. Everybody back?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I know, Luana, you still had some follow-ups with the near-death experiences, so I'll go ahead and let you continue where we left off.
Yeah, no, I just actually, it's kind of a comment. I was watching a show not too long ago on, near-death experiences, and what I thought was interesting is for a lot of the people that have had near-death experience, for them, it kind of turns on a lot of abilities, the ability to see different entities. And I think, I don't really know the answer. Maybe you have some thoughts on that, but I was thinking maybe because of their experience, it heightens their beliefs, when they cross over, that kind of a thing. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that all these different people that have experienced that have, all of a sudden can see more, and so I just thought I'd get your opinion on that or your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it does seem from the research that I've done, it does seem that a lot of people who have near-death experiences come back more psychic somehow. And I don't, of course, know why that is, but it certainly, is there. And maybe it is because they open themselves up. I know for me, with the out-of-body experience, I didn't, I wonder sometimes if I tapped into that because I had the knowledge of it. Once I learned it, it seemed to have opened up something inside of me to have the experiences. I don't know if I would have had them had I not opened my mind to it. But
right.
I don't know with the why as to that happening. I know there was a case with I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Brinkley. There was a movie made about him many years ago, and he wrote the bestseller Saved by the Light, where he crossed over and came back. He was struck by lightning through a telephone, and when he came back, he could see the future, and he was saving people from their demise and a lot of times because when he would meet someone, he would see what was going to happen to them. In one case, there was an accident coming where the girl was going to be hit, and he sort of took her keys, and so she couldn't drive the car. So it does happen. The wife, I don't know.
Mhm. I think it's just interesting because I definitely think that you having knowledge of it or being aware of it helps you tap into it more. I do agree with that because I think, the more that you focus, I think we're all psychic to a degree, and then the more you focus on that and try to learn a little bit, open your mind to it, the more you start to see, if that makes sense. Like I always say that with, people that come to some of my investigations, and I try to help them see, and that's one of the things I always say is, sometimes, when you're trying to believe, you need to believe to see, is what I always say to them, because for me that's what's worked. The more I open my mind, the more experiences I have, and out-of-body is one of those. I remember as a kid just being really fascinated with, my dad had a book, I think he used to get it from like National Geographic or something, I don't remember, but it had a whole section on out-of-body experiences. And even as a kid, I would sit there and, every night when I go to bed, I try to have these out-of-body experiences because I thought it would be so amazing to experience that for yourself. I still have not had anything that I would call an out-of-body experience, but I do know that there's experiences I've had where I've become, paralyzed in the sense of, spirit is there, and just these weird experiences. So I definitely think that, that has something to do with it. I just think it's neat that people that have crossed over and that come back somehow open up that channel, tap into something that they couldn't tap into before.
It makes you want to cross over a little bit, doesn't it?
I know, but just a little bit.
That's my reason for wanting to go. I want to come back with with those those powers.
Yeah.
But there's so many people who have come back and used those things for the better. I think I'm thinking of Danian Brinkley and Betty J. Eady, who wrote the Embraced by the Light, who came back and was more psychic and more spiritual, and she's helped millions of people with her books. And so yeah, I mean, it seems to all be positive,
Right.
I think that also I tell people, once they learn things about, open themselves up to things like, spirit guides, that they're there, and they're trying to help us to, help us on a spiritual journey. Angels. Once we open ourselves up to all of these things, then we're more aware, and then we can get the benefits of that knowledge. If we know that an angel wants to help, that angels are there to help us, then we can open ourselves up to maybe trying to hear them or trying to discern whether or not, that was my imagination, that was a vision, or was from an angel, because a lot of times it's from an angel or even we have the guides. They're two separate things here. Your guides are people that come in with a person that comes in with you to this life to help you, and that they have lived here. They've they incarnated here, and so they know what it's like to be human. So we have those whispering in our ear, and we have the angels, trying. But you have to learn to hear them, and if you're not even aware of them, you can't open yourself up to it, and they have the benefits of knowing.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, and that is true. I think the more that you the more I've actually tried to understand who my guides are and connect with them, the more that I ask. It's amazing the answers are there.
Agreed. It's not as mysterious as we've been taught. Everything is not a mystery. The answers are right there for us. All we have to do is ask.
Yep.
Luana, I'm curious. Was it Seth? The name that you keep picking up is that your thoughts with him? Is he kind of do you consider him kind of like a guide?
I do feel like he is a guide. Although I've been told I work really closely with another sensitive, and she's told me she doesn't think he's a guide, but he came into my life a little over a year ago, and he just really likes. He's a good spirit. I feel very protected by him. He likes the interaction when I investigate. He goes on pretty much every investigation with me now. Very, very neat story that's kind of unraveling with him, and I've been able to see him in my mind's eye and communicate with him, and I'm trying to learn a little bit more. It's not like I'm developed enough to where I can just, pick up on him all the time, but when I'm deep in meditation, sometimes I can do that. So I'm trying to learn more about his story and understand. I actually kind of feel like he's maybe the one that woke me up last week to get me going to Reiki. So.
It's interesting. Constance, I'm curious, your story at the beginning of the show where you saw that individual and they were extending their arm to you, just kind of curious, based on your research and your thoughts, what would have happened if you took his hand?
Well, I didn't honestly tell you the full story. It's a long story. Yeah. You know what? I'll just say it. I was one of those 14-year-olds that was bullied a lot, and I tried to take my life, and I just couldn't take the pressure anymore. And so I think that, he was there out of concern. And I think had I reached out for him, I would have left my body, and I would have gone with him. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very, very, very interesting. Okay.
At the top of the show, I was trying to get it all in, and it was very, very long-winded. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, like I said, glad you're still here with us, and this is a very, very
yes.
interesting. I want to get there's two other things that come up a lot, and kind of from our angle here on interviewing groups and locations and things, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on these. One we kind of already hit about a little bit on the whole idea of a portal. And so when you kind of get your thoughts, there's different locations. Sometimes people's houses are claimed, or sometimes an area in a historic location is claimed to be, a portal that just allows, different things kind of in and out. Mm-hmm. Just kind of, again, wanted to get your thoughts as to, based on your research and what you've studied, is there such a thing, and kind of what is it, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've thought about writing a book called Portals, Passageways, and Tunnels. I have limited information on it, but my thoughts are that, wow, okay, I've already talked about crossing over and going through a tunnel. When we die, when the physical body dies, a tunnel does open up in front of us for us to go through to reach the other side. So I would imagine that it's not just, humanity that has portals. I think portals, are more than likely throughout, the universe. Now, I think that we are not the only entities. I think from what my research shows and from what people have told me, they have seen other entities in this world. There is that story of the Mothman. And that story was, there were many witnesses and people interviewed for that, and they were not crazy. They were people of, the law enforcement over there in that city and all of this. And I believe that whatever that was that came through some sort of portal from another place. I believe it exists. The angels, I don't believe just, beam in or pop in. I also think that they're coming through some sort of passageways and tunnels. The ET stuff, which is one of my passions, I believe that they are coming through tunnels and portals. I mean, it does seem that either, I don't want to get to the UFO stuff, but it does seem that, when you've seen them, if you've seen any of the footage, they look like they're going in and out of something and disappearing. I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert on that, but I do believe there are, from having the out-of-body experiences, I know that I've gone through, like, what I call a starry tunnel, going really fast in the spirit through this tunnel. It looked like the stars were just, flying by me. So I think that's how a lot of the entities and people and beings travel to get from one place to the other.
Interesting. Then the other one I wanted to ask about was, this is just kind of one of the third rails here on our on the show or on the topics here, but it comes up all the time. Everybody's got their different opinions on this, but things we would consider, again, kind of speaking from, somebody having problems in their home, or, somebody that's called in to kind of help somebody with this. We talk about sometimes these inhuman entities or negative entities, or, some people use the word demons, which always sets off a whole firestorm when we bring that up. But just kind of curious as to your thoughts. I'm assuming, since there's, good positive things out there that haven't necessarily walked the earth, that there could be on the flip side as well. And I know you said that you don't really dive into that too much, but I was just curious on your research. What are your thoughts on that? And again, we kind of approach this of trying to make people aware of what they could possibly run into. I don't think there's one around every corner. Then again, somebody just going out to a graveyard or something, as some of these young teams do, and things, don't want them running into something that they underestimate. So just kind of your thoughts on kind of the inhuman things, negative things.
Yeah. Excuse me. That is such a loaded question.
It sets off. We could do shows upon shows upon shows upon this. I mean, this is one that has everybody and everybody all weighs in and things. But I just figured I'd get your thoughts on this one.
Is the question? Are there inhuman dark things, or is the question who are causing the havoc? Because I think that it can be both. I think, honestly, I think you've got human spirits and non-human spirits that wreak havoc sometimes. Okay. I think that there are non-human entities around us. I don't know how many that we cannot see. I think that there is a lot more going on in this world, on this planet, that meets our eye. And sometimes we get in their way, and they get really annoyed. I think they can see us, but we can't see them. William Blakely, who was, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, it's Blakely. He was a psychic, a mystic, very famous painter, excuse me, said that when he looked at the trees, he could see angels. Now, I don't believe he was seeing angels. I believe he was seeing something, but I don't believe angels were sitting around in trees. That's my point. And I always think about him. He was known to not be a crazy person. You know, when you read about him, he was said to be very sane, and he made this comment. I always think, he obviously could see into realms that we could not. He could see people that were, or something that was not there, and I think that's the problem. I think we don't know everything that is around us. I had a cousin. I had a friend who first told me that when she lived on, I believe it was in Trinidad. She woke up one night and there was this little. There had been a report that there was the kids had scratches on them, long scratches, and in their, when they were sleeping, and she woke up and this little gremlin or thing was by her bed, and she was a very nice, sane person, and she told me the story, and he didn't attack her, but he, faded out. I guess he scared her to death. But that kind of explained what was happening over there, that there was something bothering them. Where did he come from? So when I told my cousin years later in Washington, D.C., she says, "Oh, I saw that once, and it went behind my dresser. I thought it was from all those crazy movies I had been watching." So it just seems to me that there are things that we don't know about that are roaming around. I had one lady explain to me that she had seen a little guy, just like 12 inches once, when she woke up, and he ran, and he sort of ran right through the screen like a ghost. And she was a perfectly sane person too, and she saw that. There are a lot of these stories. So I think that it does beg more research. Are they evil? No, not all of them. Are there some that may be horrible and trying to create mischief? Yes. I don't know. I don't always think that what people are calling a poltergeist. I don't necessarily think that those are ghosts. I don't think that every time a person crosses over, they lose their minds and become evil. I believe that we have evil people that cross over that may spend some time here that, yes, may cause us problems, but I do think that there are some entities that we do not know about and we don't understand, that are inhuman, yes.
What you're describing for part of that reminds me of we did a show back in November, and a bunch of us were with George Lopez. I was on vacation with my family in Florida, and that's where George is located. And so I was able to go with an investigation with him to the Florida Ghost Town, which is outside the Ocala National Forest. And there is a building in the ghost town where very weird dynamic. Basically, there were claims that there could possibly be some kind of like portal in this one closet, and so George, as an example, says, Matt, go ahead in there and see if see what happens. So I go in the closet again, and a whole bunch of people around here close the door, and I hear this weird clicking noise, which didn't freak me out at first. But then the clicking noise got like 2 inches from my face, and so I was like, okay, I'm out of here. And so I popped out of the closet. Well, it turns out there was this weird dynamic in this room, whereas if you had someone, and I was the one doing this part, sitting on the bed, looking out the window, and then you had another person in the closet looking out the window as well. So two people in a line. Like that seemed to, for some reason, generate a lot of things going on in this room. And what George, and I believe it was one other person in the group, claimed to see that night was almost what you were describing here, like this 2-foot-tall, looked like the thing out of Gremlins, kind of pop out of the closet at one point. Well, George had mentioned when he was in the closet, I guess he said, and he'd know the story better than me, but I believe he said, show me what you see or something, and said a very weird, it was like all of a sudden the back of the closet disappeared, and it was just like all black. Well, he was actually got physically sick for like the next 3 days after that. Had a heck of a hard time after what happened to that. And there was just a very weird, again, vibe in that whole room. I don't know exactly, what went on there or, why it was even going on. There isn't any historically known event or traumatic event that happened in that building. But, again, just very weird things. And, again, he had physical effects afterwards related to it. So, Luan, I know you had a question kind of related to this as well? Or maybe not related?
Sorry, yep. Sorry, I was on mute. I actually just had a question. As we look at, like, other dimensions, other realms, there's obviously entities or beings that we can't see, but we can feel their presence, or we can sometimes, when, Matt, you were talking about the voice you heard, so sometimes you can hear them. What are your thoughts on, are there beings that can't see us? Do you think that could exist, where maybe I've always talked about the movie The Others, and there's a reason why, because of something I've also captured, but I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that, if we could be perhaps the ghost to some of these entities.
Yes. Excuse me, please. Yes, I believe that we can be ghosts to others as well. In fact, I will give you a story that I came across where there was a couple with a son, a young boy, who moved into a home, and they were the mom and dad were upstairs, and the child had gone downstairs. It was like the first week of them living there, and he went downstairs, and he came running back upstairs and said, "Mom, Dad, there's a little boy and a little girl downstairs." And the parents went down to investigate, and they didn't see anything. And so they, of course, thought he was, just playing tricks, because he was very young and he didn't take it very seriously. And a week went by, and it happened again. He was downstairs, and he saw what he said were two kids. And so the parents, one more time, went down to investigate, and there was a little boy and a little girl standing there. And there was no way. The windows were closed, the doors were closed. There was no way that they had come in that they could figure it out. But what was interesting is that the children were scared of them, and they thought they were looking at ghosts, so they were scared, and the children were just afraid. And the girls started to cry, and they moved their mouths, but the children moved their mouths, but they couldn't understand what they were saying. They couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear sound. And they said there was a weird kind of glow around them, and they were dressed sort of differently, more in like a kind of a parachute-looking uniform or something. And they faded out.
Wow.
Now, the person doing the investigating had the theory that they were looking at each other from different dimensions, and to those kids, they thought, perhaps they thought they were ghosts, and then vice versa. So I think that does happen. And in fact, I'm sure everybody has heard about the shadows, the shadow people. There's so many theories as to who and what they are, but one of them is that we are seeing them, seeing into a different dimension, and we're not seeing them clearly. And they have It's like looking through a foggy mirror from a shower, when it gets all fogged up, and that's how we're seeing them. And then that's how they're seeing us. So yeah, I think that happens, and I think there are those that exist that can maybe hear us, but they can't see us and are wondering about us as well.
That it was really interesting because on one of my investigations, I was actually talking, and when I captured an EVP, the voice that spoke up, it was like he could hear me, but he couldn't see me. I was like the ghost. It was really bizarre. So I've always wondered if, what your other people's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's just really interesting stuff. I just wish we had more research into all of this. I wish we spent more time on it. I think it's important. I don't think that we should walk around in the dark, not understanding the world around us and just sweeping it under the carpet and like, I saw something scary, I saw a ghost, ooh, and leaving it at that. I would like to know what's going on.
Yeah. Answers, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, John. You had a question?
I had a question. I'm not sure if it's a topic that Constance has dealt with or does deal with, but I know I have a passion for post-life aggression. I don't know if that's something that you've researched or have come across, or even what is your view on that? Just curious.
Post-life aggression?
Yes.
Past life regression.
Past life aggression.
Regression. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I heard post-life aggression.
Yeah, I said it wrong at first. Sorry.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do believe in past life regression. In fact, I know people that have been regressed. I haven't done it, and honestly, I don't do it because I don't want to look back. I understand that a lot of our problems in life can be associated with what we've done in the past, but I haven't, up to this point, wanted to look back into my past life like so many have a passion for doing. But I do know I have a very, very close friend who loves this subject, and she she's been regressed, her daughters have been regressed, and she's been operating off of the information and raising her girls, a little bit on, their past lives. And she has found that knowing that has been beneficial in the girls' lives. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, I hear it can be very, very helpful to know.
I've actually seen it done a couple times. I've observed a couple different people being regressed, and I think it helps, especially if there's certain things in this life that people struggle with. I think it can help them understand perhaps why they may struggle with certain elements of their life to be regressed. So I've been curious about that as well.
Yeah, and there are people who have their past life memories, even though they haven't been regressed, they're still carrying some of the memories. I mean, I don't know if any of you have heard about some of the children that have come forward and said, for example, there was this one little boy who was able to recount how he died in his former life, give the names of his parents, give his address, and take his current family back to that address, to see what he was talking about. I mean, there are people who actually come in with some of these memories, and I find that that's pretty amazing. Yeah, so, yes, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we can come back over and over again and learn lessons, and I believe that we don't necessarily have to, after death, we don't have to incarnate here. We can incarnate into a different world altogether. It doesn't, we've been we may have been incarnated, as what we would consider an ET or an alien now on another planet for all we know. We all come from source. I believe the same source, and I don't also believe that all souls or spirits originated here. I don't believe they're all human souls. I believe that there are people that have come in from different worlds who have been born in to help. This world. It is pretty dark here, and it does need, help. And I think that people come in as a mission from other realms. I believe that they came in, they were born into their planet, and they left their body there and came in here to help and will return there. That's been some amazing research in itself, and that gets me into the whole ET cosmic stuff. And I don't know, maybe I can come back one day and talk about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a group of people that are interested in that as well. One thing I did want to get to before we ran out of time tonight was your comments on the with the information with your book about some of the historical deathbed experiences with some people. I didn't know if you had any interesting stories on that. That is something I have found, just hearing different stories about some famous people and some things that have happened. I found very, very interesting to hear kind of how that has gone on. Do you have any stories or anything interesting that you learned in your research around that?
No, you don't mean don't mean deathbed. You mean people who have in history who have crossed over, and do I have any stories about their deaths or them on the other side? Is that what you mean, Matthew?
Yes.
One of my favorite people is Abraham Lincoln. He is phenomenal. I'm writing about him in my next book, and I've written about him in my past book. He was a very metaphysical person. He had a premonition of his death. I don't know how many people have heard that or not, but he knew about a week in advance. I don't know how serious he took it, but he had a dream where he saw everything that happened to him, and he relayed this dream to a friend and said, that he was walking into this room, and he saw someone laying on the on a coffin or what, I forget the official word for it back then, and he said, "Who is it that everyone is crying for?" And they said, "It's the president. The president's been shot." And he realized that it was him. So he had a premonition in advance that he and killed, but not only that, Abraham Lincoln has been spotted several times in the White House over the years, and the Queen, I think her name was Helena of Queensland, was visiting the White House when President Roosevelt was there. And she was staying in a room across from Lincoln's old office. She was staying in a room, and she had dismissed her servant for the night. And she went to bed, and she heard a knock on her bedroom door. And she, thinking it was her servant, she got up actually, and she answered it, and she opened the door, and there stood a man, very tall man, in a top hat. And when she looked, she said she realized she could see through him. She fainted. So here's all of these people running to this queen who's now on the floor, and they're getting her to the bed, and she's telling them, here's Eleanor Roosevelt in the field service, and she's telling them that she saw this man and she could see through him, and she described him. Eleanor Roosevelt dismissed everybody and told the queen, that she had seen Abraham Lincoln. And the queen didn't know who that was when she saw him, but then Eleanor Roosevelt explained, and she said it was Abraham Lincoln, and they've seen him a few times. And anyway, the queen left as fast as she could the White House. Winston Churchill also visited the White House once, and Winston Churchill had gone, and it had been he was retiring for the night, and he had gone and was getting ready for bed. He had a cigar, and this account goes that he actually was not even dressed. He was just like walking around the room. He comes out, and there's Abraham Lincoln standing next to the fireplace. And he said to him, he was shocked, and then he said, recovered, and he said, "Mr. President, you have me at a disadvantage." And he said that Lincoln smiled and vanished. Wow. Yeah, now that was Winston Churchill. I don't think he was making it up, and it's well documented. that he saw President Lincoln. So he's been around forever for whatever reason. He has been there. One story that I find extremely interesting is Lucille Ball. When I first heard that her house was, her previous home was being haunted, I thought, oh, please, why would, the people thought it was Lucy. I said, oh, why would Lucy be haunting a house? Lucy? There's no way she's haunting a house. So I told my very good friend, who is like, the biggest Lucy fan in the world, I said, do you think she would haunt? Mm-hmm. And she says, no. She says, was anybody living in the house before her? And I thought there had been, and I said, yeah. Well, come to find out, I've been actually writing this story recently. When Lucy died, she was living in this home. She died in a hospital, but this home is where she was married to Desi Arnaz. She raised her kids there after they split up. She was married to her second husband. They all lived there for many, many, many years. She loved it. She had all these amazing things brought in that she just loved her home. So when she died a few years later, her second husband sold the home to these people who gutted it, and except for the structure, they took it apart. Well, one of Lucy's very good friends was walking by the house, a few years after her death, when this reconstruction was going on, and he saw this lady walking around the perimeter there, kind of, looking in. And he said when he looked closer, he saw it was Lucy. And he said she walked around the house and she, disappeared around the house, and he was shocked. And once that house was put back together, paranormal activity had started in there. And I was telling my husband, I said, what happens when someone loves their life and they love their home and they cross over? Is it their house still or not their house still? And he's like, oh, don't be silly. Of course it's not their house. But she loved it, and is she in there, or was she in there for a while and just really annoyed with them? The guy who saw her said she looked really confused and upset. And he thought maybe it was because they really did gut that house and they've changed everything about it. That's right. So, yeah, I thought that was disturbing. And totally that really upset me because I felt bad for her. But my husband was like, no, she needs to, she would need to move on. Maybe they just don't for a while, and maybe that's why you get these people who are in these homes, because clearly they're not dead. We don't die, and if they stick around and they're seeing people, doing stuff with their things, maybe they haven't accepted death, but maybe that's where some of this activity comes from. They're just we're just in the way sometimes. Yeah.
Interesting. It makes me think of that show. My wife watches all those home improvement shows. I actually don't like them, but there's that one where they have people come back into the house after somebody bought it and see how they all changed it, and you see how upset they get. So I could just imagine somebody still in spirit realm, still living in the house as those changes are being made. So that makes sense. That also explains a lot of what we hear is where a lot of locations during remodeling, particularly like some of these historical locations, tends to whip things up. So anyway, John, you had a question with, I think, about cryptids?
Yeah, I was just curious. I know earlier we had talked about portals and dimensions, and Constance said something that really caught my ear. She said the Mothman. And my question is in her experiences and people she's talked to, does she think like things like the Mothman or like the Jersey Devil, could that be folklore, or is that actual, or could that be extraterrestrial? Or because she said something about a dimension, a portal, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I was just curious.
I don't know anything actually about the Jersey Devil, but the Mothman, I believe, could be extraterrestrial. I believe that he came in, just my idea, that he came in through a portal, and I don't know if he did it on purpose or accidentally ended up here, but I definitely believe that he came in from another world. Maybe there was a rip or a tear, there that he came in, because he seemed to have definitely been out of sorts, like it was an accident from my studying it, and then he disappeared just as quickly as he came in. Yeah, and I think a number of these sightings of beings that we can't explain are coming in through, maybe a portal or some kind of tunnel. Yeah, and ETs. If we ever were to get into the whole ET subject, like I said before, I believe that they come in through portals and can travel, that way. I don't believe we're alone in the universe. I don't believe that we have the best technology. I believe there are beings that existed in worlds that are far older than ours, that are higher and advanced in technology, and why not? We're not that old on this planet as a race of people. We're not very old, and these people would seem like gods to us. It would seem like gods to a primitive man. I do buy into what people are saying. The ancient alien theory. Yes, I buy into that, and I believe that they can travel quicker through tunnels and passageways or whatever you want to refer to it as. There's we're so far away from other planets that we haven't learned to travel. Like that, but a higher race could, that's been around forever could, and I understand that would be, one way to do it, through even a wormhole if we ever got to that point. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I found that it was very interesting. I never really thought about it. That kind of could open up a lot of these people who say they see stuff like the Mothman, or they see stuff like, I don't want to say Bigfoot, but all the stuff that's folklore,
yeah.
They could have some, it could be, like you said, other dimensions, or something to that, if aliens that are like, we don't know, we don't know they're aliens, like they could be creatures and we see them and think, oh, that's Bigfoot or something. I thought that was pretty neat. You commented on earlier.
Well, thank you. It's funny you would say that, because Bigfoot, it has been a controversial topic in my household, because my son believes, that Bigfoot is real. My husband does not. He thinks it's ridiculous. Although my husband is, he's pretty open-minded since he's been living with me for so long. He accepts many things, but not this one. And I'm like, well, dear, Bigfoot has been around for many years. People have been seeing him all over the place. This creature, and they're not all lying, and they're not all making it up. They're not all daydreaming. It's something. And I did say that, maybe it's coming and going through some sort of portal. And I know people might find that far-fetched, but, why else could they not find the thing? So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a similar story with the Jersey Devil, which has had some weird sightings in the Pine Barrens in Jersey, and basically that is people describe seeing this thing with like bat wings and a horse's head, and I believe it's rather tall. It's like 7 feet tall, and just fairly recently, some people have reported there was one on one of these shows of a lady going out, basically putting things away in her, taking the garbage out, and all of a sudden this thing's around the back of the house, and so. What made me think of that as well is it just reminds me of there's some similarities, at least with the recent descriptions of people seeing that in the Pine Barrens, and some of the descriptions you hear about some of the eyewitnesses with the Mothman, particularly those that saw him on the. I know there's that one story of the guy that they saw it on the porch of their house, and things along that line. So I mean, again, hey, it's just. Why not,
Well, did it do any harm? I don't know this story. I need to look it up.
No harm that John, are you aware of any?
No, not any like major massacres. Just a lot of terrifying people and scaring people who go in the woods, camping and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's one famous one of I forget who it was. It's I'm going to say Revolutionary War. I mean, it was a guy fairly respected that they actually claimed they saw this thing flying in the air and they shot cannonballs at it. And again, it wouldn't have been somebody that that time and that place and that level that they were at. They would have been locked up for claiming that. So it's a weird. It's gone back for years of just these sightings of this weird animal or entity in that area, and they tend to get scared by it, but I don't recognize it or remember any claims of it actually trying to harm anyone.
I had a quick question, Matt. That's kind of, if you're just curious on Constance's take. I know she's really into aliens, extraterrestrial, and stuff like that. I've always wondered, just out of giggles, if an alien had come to this planet and had died, do you think that maybe on this Earth roams a ghost of an alien? I mean, it sounds corny, but I've always wondered, like, if it, like people see these spirits and stuff, could they actually be alien? I mean, I'm just curious what your take is on that.
Wow, that's quite a question. I've never thought about that. Certainly, if you've got something physical, I think that all of these worlds, if they're physical, they have a soul because we originated as source, and we're all from. I say from source, meaning we all. I feel like maybe came from the same type. We all have souls. And we can, like I said, we can incarnate here and go to another realm, go to another world, and incarnate there. So I would think that you could actually have an alien soul roaming about if they did not go to the light as well. Why not? That's very interesting. Now, is that what we're seeing? I mean, I don't know if there's been any that crashed or died here or anything. I mean, I've heard stories, and that's, like I said, another topic. But why not? I think it's
Luana, you had a quick question?
Oh, I just had a comment, yeah. And I think just to your point, Constance, I agree with you because I think if you look at animals that we have and, their souls, and sometimes you feel animal presence and things like that, that it could be possible. I was just kind of listening to the discussion about Mothman, and I worked a case a little over a year ago where the police were involved with Mothman. They had video of what they thought was Mothman, and, we went in, and, I mean, this location in Colorado is everything. It's UFOs. It's creatures. They had photographs of different creatures that they had found, and just really interesting place. But the Mothman video that they had looked like almost like an angel. It was. It was. Yeah, it's like it morphed on the video, and it spread wings. It was really, really bizarre. So I don't know if what that was, but it was definitely interesting footage. So just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, I've seen so many different images of this thing. I'm not sure what it's supposed to look like at this point. I mean, some people have described it as a man with bat wings, and some have described it as, kind of having big eyes and an animal-type head and face with like a large bat. So, right. I don't know. But I did want to get back really quick to the alien ghost thing. I really do think that I think that is possible. I've never thought about that one. That question will stick with me for a while.
Well, I did want to get the chance because before we run out of time on this, for everyone that's listening tonight, and also for the folks that download later, because we have quite a few people that download the show. Contact information, any information about where they can find your book or your website, anything you would like to pass on to everyone out here. And we'll also post some links on the Sunday Night Dead Facebook page as well. But go ahead, Constance, let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. My book can be found on Amazon or any online bookstore. Most of the online bookstores have it. And it is the Encyclopedia of the Unseen World, Constance Victoria Briggs. You can go through my website as well. My website address is www.starseedmission.com. I'm also on Facebook. You can look me up there. If you have any questions, you can Facebook me, Constance Victoria Briggs, and let me know that you heard the show. And I love to answer questions and, talk and try to help people, just like you do, Matthew, and all of you. So, look me up sometime. And, yeah, pick up a copy of the book. And if you're interested in angels, I have the Encyclopedia of Angels out there as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, Constance, I want to thank you very much for being on with us tonight. Very, very interesting discussion, interesting topics. We will have to have you back on a alien show sometime in the future here.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you all for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Luana and John, thank you as well for being on again. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks. It's fun.
And next week we have Black Raven Paranormal, and again, everyone knows that has listened to the show before knows that my favorite location above all else is investigating hospitals or asylums. I guess I could make a bad joke about past life regression for John as to maybe I was incarcerated in an asylum sometime in past life. But anyway. They do work in one a little bit farther up in Virginia and have some other interesting stories as well. So we will be on with them next week. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight, or anyone that's listening to this on the download. We appreciate each and every one of you listening in to Sunday Night Dead, and we will see you all next week. Good night, everyone.
Ouija board, would you work for me? I have got to say hello to an old friend. Ouija board, Ouija board, Ouija board, would you work for me? I have got to get through to a good friend. Well, she has now gone from this unhappy planet with all the carnivores and the destructors on it. Ouija board, Ouija board, Ouija board, would you help me? Because I still do feel so horribly lonely. Would you Ouija board, would you Ouija board, would you help me? And I just can't find my place in this world. Well, she has now gone from this unhappy planet with all the carnivores and the destructors on it. Oh, hear my voice. Oh, hear my voice. Hear my voice. Hear my voice. Table is rumbling. The table is rumbling. The glass is moving. No, I was not pushing that time. It spelled T-E-V-E-N. The table is rumbling. The glass is moving.